Chapter 1739. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was conversing with Si Tuyen, Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing's voices rang out from outside the door. They were not like the great elder who insisted on seeing the sect master. If the sect master was unwilling to see them now, they would definitely leave immediately. Subordinate Qin Ai requests an audience with the sect master. Subordinate Gu Jingqing requests an audience with the sect master. Hearing the voices outside the door, Si Tuyen's expression changed and he could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. What he cared about the most now was his granddaughter's thoughts. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. She recalled that when she had first arrived at Tiangang's sect, Palace Master Qin and Palace Master Gu had spoken up for her in the meeting hall. She understood that Palace Master Qin and Palace Master Gu had always been on Debachen's side. Hence, she was grateful to the two sect masters. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang did not object, Si Tuyen then said, "Come in." Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing walked into the room after hearing Si Tuyen's voice. When they saw that only Si Tuyen, Debachen, and Bailey Hongzhuang were in the room, they were very calm. "Greetings, sect master." "Greetings, young sect master." The two of them bowed respectfully. "You may rise." Si Tuyen raised his right hand and indicated for Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing to rise. Bailey Hongzhuang also bowed when she saw Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing. "Greetings, Palace Master Qin and Palace Master Gu." Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang. Their feelings towards Bailey Hongzhuang were extremely complicated. In terms of status, Bailey Hongzhuang was only an ordinary disciple of Tiangang's sect. Hence, it was very normal for Bailey Hongzhuang to bow to them. But they were equally clear that Bailey Hongzhuang was the future young sect master's wife, so this greeting wasn't appropriate. From their point of view, sect master, young sect master and Bailey Hongzhuang were here to discuss matters. Perhaps they were discussing the marriage between young sect master and Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for this, the first elder's repeated interruptions wouldn't have caused the sect master to fly into a rage. Si Tuyen took in the changes in Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing's expressions. He could also understand Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing's helplessness in terms of etiquette. "Sect master, isn't it a little inappropriate for the great elder to be punished like this?" Qin Ai could not help but speak up after thinking about it for a while. Usually, many of the sect's matters were handled by the great elder. Now that the great elder was locked up, he wouldn't be able to come out for the time being. This would definitely affect the sect to a certain extent. Qin Ai could not help but look worriedly at Si Tuyen. He did not want to anger the sect master because of this matter. This is caused by his own actions. There's no need to plead for leniency. Si Tuyen's attitude was firm. Chapter 1740. Following Si Tuyen's words, Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing's expressions changed. Stormy waves involuntarily surged in their hearts. The sect master's words meant that he wanted to take away first elder's authority. Once the other elders were allowed to divide the first elder's responsibilities, it would mean that the other elders were allowed to divide the first elder's authority. In this way, it wouldn't be long before first elder's power was stripped away. Thinking of this, the two of them found it inconceivable. First elder had been in Tiangang's sect for so long and had never encountered such a situation. Why would the sect master make such a decision? They couldn't understand. Could it be because of the first elder's unreasonable pestering just now? Even so, it shouldn't be enough to make the sect master make such a decision. Instinctively, they felt that there must be a problem here. It definitely wasn't as simple as what they had just witnessed. Bailey Hongzhuang was also shocked and she heard Si Tuyen's words. She didn't expect her grandfather to take away first elder's authority so decisively. However, to her, this was also a good thing. With first elder around, she would undoubtedly have endless troubles. As long as first elder lost his authority, he wouldn't be able to affect her in any way. Di Beichen completely agreed with Si Tuyen's idea. Before returning to Tiangang's sect, he already had this idea. He originally planned to take away First Elder's authority bit by bit. Once he completely took over First Elder's authority, it would be easy to deal with him. However, he needed his master's permission for this matter. After all, First Elder's status in Tiangang's sect wasn't simple. However, he didn't expect his master to make the decision before he even voiced his thoughts. Si Tuyen's expression was as calm as the wind. In a few days, he might not stay in the sect. He had to investigate Mu Lingbing's location. He could only be at ease if he rescued Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao as soon as possible. While he was away, he had to avoid any possibility of harming Hong Zhuang. Obviously, the First Elder was the most uncertain factor. Sect Master, you. Gu Jingqing stared blankly at Si Tuyen. He really couldn't understand why the sect master would make such a decision. The Great Elder is currently immersed in his own personal feelings. His actions are unjust. Si Tuyen explained faintly. He did not make this decision entirely out of selfishness. In fact, from the moment the First Elder started pestering Hong Zhuang endlessly, he had already lost the right to be the First Elder. Hearing this, Gu Jingqing also stopped talking. He understood that what the sect master said was very reasonable. Even in other sects, the Great Elder's actions would also be punished. Palace Master Qin, Palace Master Gu, since you're here, let me tell you some good news. A smile appeared on Si Tuyen's face. He had known Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing for many years. Chapter 1742. Sect Leader, this is truly predestined. I never thought that Lady Bailey, the young sect leader's sweetheart, would turn out to be your granddaughter. Qin Ai narrowed his eyes and his face was full of smiles. This was truly a joyous matter. He had known the sect leader for so many years and had always known that the sect leader had a sweetheart when he was young. However, due to various reasons, they did not end up together. Regarding this, he only felt that it was a pity. A heroic figure like the sect leader should not have encountered such a situation. He never thought that the sect leader already had a granddaughter. This meant that the sect leader also had a daughter. This was truly shocking. That's right. Everything in this world is truly a coincidence. Si Tuyen sighed faintly. Now that he recalled everything, he also felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. If he had not talked about the past with Di Beichen over wine, he was afraid that until now, he would not have known that Hong Zhuang was his granddaughter. All of this was arranged by the heavens. The heavens are destined to let the sect leader and Lady Bailey recognize each other. Gu Jingqing's smile was sincere. This was truly a joyous matter for the Tiangang sect. As such, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were simply a match made in heaven. One was the sect leader's long-lost granddaughter while the other was the disciple that the sect leader was proud of. The combination of the two was undoubtedly the best. He believed that once this news spread, no one would doubt that Bailey Hongzhuang and the young sect leader were not compatible. This was because the two of them were extremely compatible in terms of status and other aspects. Sect leader, such a joyous matter as finding your granddaughter should be celebrated properly. Coincidentally, we can also let others know about Lady Bailey's true identity. Qin Ai thought for a moment before he slowly spoke up. The sect leader had found his granddaughter. This was an extremely important matter. Only by solemnly spreading this news would Bailey Hongzhuang be able to clear her name. She was not a cultivator from a small empire. She was a pearl covered in dust. Hearing Qin Ai's suggestion, Si Tuyen raised his right hand and stopped Qin Ai's thoughts. It's not time yet. When the time comes, it won't be too late for you to prepare everything. Now, I will only tell the two of you this information. You must not leak this information out. Si Tuyen warned in a serious tone. There was no problem in revealing Hong Zhuang's identity. However, he was worried that once this news spread, Yu Xiqing would immediately find out. That would be extremely disadvantageous for Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. Hearing Situ Yan's warning, doubt surfaced in Qin Ai's and Gu Jingqing's eyes. Then, they nodded seriously. Don't worry, sect leader. We will definitely not leak this news. Si Tuyen nodded slightly and looked at Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing with satisfaction. Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing were his trusted aides. The reason why he chose to tell them about this matter now was to make Hongzhuang's cultivation in Tiangang sect smoother. I may not be in Tiangang sect for the next period of time. Help me take care of Hongzhuang. Situ Yen said. Don't worry, sect master. We will definitely take good care of young miss. At this moment, Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing had already changed the way they addressed Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang was now Tiangang sect's eldest young miss. She was truly a eldest young miss. Chapter 1743. Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing understood that from today onwards, Bailey Hongzhuang's identity was no longer the same as before. In the future, they would definitely take good care of Bailey Hongzhuang. Although this news could not be leaked out for the time being, they could no longer treat Bailey Hongzhuang with the same attitude as before. Seeing Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing's attitude, Si Tuyen nodded in satisfaction. Whether it was Qin Ai or Gu Jingqing, they were both trustworthy elders in the sect. With the two of them in Di Beichen, Hongzhuang no longer had to worry about her days in Tiangang sect. Sect master, since Miss's identity needs to be kept a secret for the time being, how about we address Miss as an ordinary cultivator in front of others? Gu Jingqing asked. Since they had to keep a secret, they needed to be more careful in front of others. That's how it should be. Si Tuyen spoke slowly as his gaze landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. There were still many things that had yet to be resolved, so Hongzhuang could only suffer for the time being. After they rescued Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing, Hongzhuang's name could be righted. Sensing Si Tuyen's concerned gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Grandfather, don't worry about me. I don't care about these things. As long as I can acknowledge grandfather, this is the happiest thing for me. She didn't care about anything else. She had been living like this all these years. These false titles wouldn't affect anything. When everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang's calm appearance, they understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's words came from the bottom of her heart. She really didn't care about these things. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang like this, Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing couldn't help but sigh. Previously, they already felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament was extraordinary. She didn't seem like a cultivator from a small empire. Now that they knew Bailey Hongzhuang's true identity, they finally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't an ordinary person. Most young people were vain, but this was not seen in Bailey Hongzhuang. She was indeed worthy of being the granddaughter of the sovereign. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with appreciation. His wife was always so understanding. Si Tuyen patted Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and looked at her lovingly. It was a great blessing for Situ Yen to have such a granddaughter. After Qin Ai and Gu Jingqing understood everything, they took their leave first. The sect leader and Bailey Hongzhuang had just met, so they must have a lot to say. If they continued to stay there, they would have disturbed him. After leaving the sect master's bedroom, Qin Ai's face could not help but be filled with shock. Eldest Miss is actually the granddaughter of the sect master. This news is really amazing. Did eldest Miss come to Tiangang sect to recognize her relatives? Gu Jingqing thought about it and shook his head. I don't think so. If this was her motive, eldest Miss would have already met the sect leader before the assessment competition. I believe that they haven't known about this for long. You saw the kinship testing stone just now. Hearing this, a deep light flashed across Qin Ai's eyes. That's true. Great Elder kept disturbing the sect leader and eldest miss reunion and even attacked outside. No wonder the sect leader was so angry. Gu Jingqing and Qin Ai looked at each other. At a time like this, they didn't have any intention of pleading for leniency for Great Elder. In fact, he also thought that Hong Zhuang was very outstanding, whether it was her personality, character, or talent. Although he hadn't taken care of Hong Zhuang for so many years, Hong Zhuang still grew to such an extent. It made him feel guilty and gratified at the same time. Di Beichen's face was also filled with a proud smile. Hong Zhuang had always been a wife that he was proud of. No matter how others saw her, in his heart, no woman in the world could be compared to her. It seems that the relationship between our Tiangang sect and Limitless Palace will be getting closer in the future. Chapter 1745. Listening to Si Tu Yan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's faces revealed a joyful smile. Now that the situation was getting better and better, they only felt that their hopes were getting bigger and bigger. However, Si Tu Yan couldn't help but frown after thinking for a while. He had a question that he couldn't understand. Logically speaking, if Palace Master Yu knew about Hong Zhuang's identity, he shouldn't have chosen to help Hong Zhuang. After all, this would put Limitless Palace in an awkward situation. As the sect master of Tiangang sect, Si Tu Yan understood the thoughts of ordinary sect masters very well. If there wasn't enough reason, they would definitely not put the sect in danger. Now that Yu clan and Lan clan were their opponents, if they really fought, once Yu clan and Lan clan joined forces, even if Tiangang sect stepped in, it would be difficult to resist. Now that Hong Zhuang had expressed her attitude, Limitless Palace was willing to join forces with Tiangang sect to deal with Lan clan and Yu clan. In this kind of situation where both sides were competing, no one could say for sure who would be the final winner. What kind of reason did Limitless Palace Master choose to help Hong Zhuang? This was really too incomprehensible. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes changed slightly. She was very clear that with Si Tu Yan's wisdom, it was impossible for her to hide anything. Grandfather, back then, the rainbow divine pearl in my body was snatched away and integrated into Lan Qingyan's body. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Si Tu Yan's eyes couldn't help but be filled with a hint of ruthlessness. This was the biggest pain in his heart. At that time, Hongzhuang was still a baby in swaddling clothes. He was very clear about the danger of a baby in swaddling clothes suddenly having her dantian broken and the rainbow divine pearl forcibly taken out. Under such circumstances, it was already a relief that Hong Zhuang could live until now. Yu Xiqing was really too vicious. She could even do this to a baby in swaddling clothes. It was simply unbearable. Right now, he only felt that Yu Xiqing was not fit to be called a human. That woman was simply a vicious and merciless beast. He, Si Tu Yan, swore that he would let Yu Manlan and Lan Qingyan know the price they had to pay for attacking his daughter and granddaughter. However, what Bailey Hongzhuang said next stunned Si Tu Yan. Master gave me a 7-colored divine pearl. Right now, I already have one in my body. Bailey Hongzhuang had a clear and bright smile on her face. In the past, she had never thought that she would be able to obtain the rainbow divine pearl again. Her master had really given her too much hope. As soon as these words came out, Si Tu Yan's eyes suddenly froze, and his expression revealed a bit of surprise and uncertainty. He wondered if he had heard wrongly. In the next moment, the origin energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's body surged, and a 7-colored radiance emerged from her hand. The lively 7-colored radiance was like a swimming fish jumping in Bailey Hongzhuang's palm, and a tyrannical aura spread out from it. Looking at this 7-colored radiance, Si Tu Yan's surprise slowly turned into horror. This is really 7-colored energy. He had a certain understanding of the Lan family's mysterious inheritance, the rainbow divine pearl. This was the seven-colored origin energy that only the owner of the Rainbow Divine Pearl would have. Just by sensing it slightly, he could feel that this origin energy was much stronger than ordinary origin energy. Chapter 1746. How did you fuse it? At this time, Si Tuyen was not most concerned about the power of the rainbow origin energy. He was more worried about how Hong Zhuang had fused with it. Back then, her dantian had been forcefully broken open to take out the rainbow pearl. As a result, Hong Zhuang had been a cripple for so many years and could not cultivate. He did not know how Hong Zhuang had been able to cultivate again, but it must have been a painful process. Now, how did Hong Zhuang fuse with the rainbow pearl? Could it be that she had broken open her dantian again and put the rainbow pearl in? Si Tuyen didn't dare to continue thinking about it because it was too shocking. Looking at Si Tuyen's shocked expression, Bailey Hongzhuang had already guessed Si Tuyen's thoughts. She immediately explained, "Grandfather, it was Master who thought of a way to help me fuse without breaking my dantian." Only her master knew the specific method. At that time, she was almost immersed in pain and did not pay attention to how her master did it. Hearing that, Si Tuyen breathed a sigh of relief. However, the shock in his heart could not be eliminated. No matter what method was used, it must be an extremely painful process to fuse a rainbow pearl into one's body. As cultivators, they were very clear about the use of the dantian. Once something unfamiliar entered one's dantian, it would definitely cause great pain, let alone fusing a rainbow pearl into one's body. Hong Zhuang did not break her dantian and directly fused with it. This was probably even more painful than breaking her dantian. At this moment, Si Tuyen understood why Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had increased so much during the assessment. Even if Hong Zhuang had obtained an opportunity, she had also suffered pain that ordinary people could not bear. He couldn't imagine the pain he was going through. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was smiling brightly and relaxed, Si Tuyen felt even more heartache. His granddaughter was too strong. The pain she had suffered along the way was simply shocking. Originally, none of this should have happened. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a gaze full of heartache. He was even more clear about the hardships his wife had gone through to get to where she was now. However, many people still doubted his wife. Si Tuyen's heart was extremely complicated, but he did not reveal it. He would make it up to his daughter and granddaughter one by one in the coming days. Palace Master Yu actually has the rainbow pearl. She even knows the method to fuse with it. Si Tuyen spoke slowly as his eyes flashed with wisdom. You Linfeng know the method that even the Lan family did not know. This showed how much Yu Linfeng understood the rainbow pearl. This was too strange. As far as I know, Palace Master Yu's cultivators, Di Beichen, Tuyen's granddaughter. The limitless Palace Master hated the Lan clan. This was a publicly known secret in the cultivation world. Although they didn't say it out loud, everyone understood in their hearts. In that case, Palace Master Yu still accepted Hong Zhuang as his disciple and helped her take revenge. Could it be that they both resented the Lan family? After thinking about this, Si Tuyen had an epiphany. Perhaps, this was the reason why Palace Master Yu was so determined to help Hong Zhuang. Di Beichen's eyes also flashed with doubt. This was something that he had never understood. He always felt that there were other factors involved, but he could not figure out what it was. He was helpless. Chapter 1747. A few years ago, I heard that Palace Master Yu hated the Lan family so much because he had a grudge with the Lan family in the past and he was a member of the Lan family back then. Si Tuyen had a complicated look in his eyes. As the news was too shocking, he had never forgotten about it. However, he had never delved into it. Everyone had their own secrets and experiences. There was no need for them to dig it out forcefully as it was meaningless. Now that he knew about Hong Zhuang, he felt that the news might be true. It was precisely because Hong Zhuang and Palace Master Yu were both treated unfairly by the Lan family that Palace Master Yu was so determined to help Hong Zhuang. Hearing Si Tuyen's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang was stunned for a moment. She never thought that her grandfather would have heard of such a rumor. The truth was just as her grandfather had guessed. However, she could not say it out loud. At least, she could not say it out loud without her master's permission. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with shock. He never thought that Palace Master Yu would be a member of the Lan family. If Palace Master Yu is a member of the Lan family, then everything makes sense. Di Beichen quickly understood that there was such a story behind it. He was afraid that Palace Master Yu and Hong Zhuang were in the same boat. If that was the case, then it was not strange that Palace Master Yu would help Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not say much. It was her grandfather's guess. With her grandfather's wisdom and the rumors he had heard before, it was not strange for him to guess this. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. It seemed that her master did not plan to keep this secret forever. He was just unwilling to talk about it. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but feel puzzled. What kind of attitude did the Lan family have towards her master? Si Tuyen and Di Beichen did not say much about this matter. It was enough for them to know that Limitless Palace was their ally. Hong Zhuang, you and Beichen have been running around for so many days. You must be tired. Rest well, Si Tuyen said with concern. Ever since Hong Zhuang came out of the competition, she had been running all over the place and hadn't had a good rest. Now that everything was finally settled, it was time to have a good rest. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and nodded, okay. As for Bailey Hong Zhuang's residence, Si Tuyen decided to let Hong Zhuang stay in Di Beichen's palace first. Di Beichen's palace was very big, and there were many rooms. Moreover, Di Beichen and Bailey Hong Zhuang had already gotten married in Feng Bo country a few years ago. On the other hand, Di Beichen's palace had a cultivation room. If Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen cultivated together in the room, the speed of their cultivation would be very fast. When Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen left the palace, Si Tuyen couldn't help but reveal a smile. Chapter 1748. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen walked out of the sect master's quarters and returned to Di Beichen's place. Both of them were in a very good mood. This was the result that they had hoped to see, and it did not disappoint them. Wife, I never thought that you would really be master's granddaughter. I suddenly feel that all of this has been arranged by the heavens. A joyful smile appeared on Di Beichen's handsome face. Under the golden rays of the sun, his smile sparkled. From the time he had gone to Feng Bo country and fell in love with Hong Zhuang, to now that they had stayed in Tiangang's sect and discovered the connection between his master and Hong Zhuang, as long as there was a problem in all of this, it would be impossible for Hong Zhuang and his master to acknowledge each other. However, despite so many problems, they had still managed to make it one step at a time. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curled into a gentle and beautiful smile. That's right, all of this is a little unbelievable. Now, her emotions were even more profound than Di Beichen's. She felt that even the matter of her transmigration might have been arranged by the heavens. Otherwise, Bailey Hong Zhuang would have died long ago and all of this would have been lost. Di Beichen held Bailey Hong Zhuang's small hand, his eyes filled with deep affection and gentleness. Wife, let's get married after we rescue my in-laws. What do you think? He loved Hong Zhuang too much and only wished that he could tell everyone that Hong Zhuang was his wife. Furthermore, there was still Mo Yinjue eyeing them covetously from the side. He had to quickly declare his sovereignty. Looking at Di Beichen's passionate and sincere look, Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curled into a smile. However, she thought for a while and said, "We still don't know if my parents are satisfied with you. If they aren't, then we don't know. I'm so outstanding, how could my in-laws not be satisfied?" Di Beichen raised his handsome brows and his incomparably handsome face was filled with confidence. Don't shout so happily. It's not time yet. Bailey Hongzhuang glared at Di Beichen, but the smile in her eyes deepened. You are my wife. Naturally, they are my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Do you still want to deny it? Di Beichen narrowed his eyes and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang threateningly. He wouldn't give his wife any chance to escape. That depends on whether you treat me well or not. If you don't treat me well. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a delicate and proud smile. She let go of Di Beichen's hand and walked into the house. However, the moment Bailey Hongzhuang entered the room, Di Beichen followed her. Dong! Di Beichen pressed one hand against the wall and locked Bailey Hongzhuang in his arms. The corners of his lips curled into a devilish and seductive smile. Wife, what did you just say? I said, before Bailey Hongzhuang could say anything, Di Beichen's handsome face quickly enlarged in front of her eyes. His warm breath hit her face and she felt a warm touch on her lips. Di Beichen kissed Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. The rich sweetness made it hard for him to extricate himself. After a while, Di Beichen looked at the blushing Bailey Hongzhuang and asked, Wife, are you still going to run? Run, Bailey Hongzhuang had only uttered a single syllable when Di Beichen kissed her again. It seemed that his wife didn't know the consequences of saying such things. Bailey Hongzhuang felt her heart pounding and her face burning. She felt dizzy. Chapter 1749. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen in front of her. His handsome face was like a blooming epiphyllum, and his beautiful lips were slightly raised into a seductive and sexy arc. A pair of deep, pitch-black eyes flickered with a bright and resplendent light, as dazzling as glass. And in those eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang saw deep affection and banter. Obviously, Di Beichen was deliberately teasing her. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen indignantly. Di Beichen was forcing her to do this. The situation just now was very good proof of this point. If she dared to say the word run again, Di Beichen would definitely punish her in the same way again. After thinking about it, Bailey Hongzhuang could only admit defeat. I won't run. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips and said. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's blushing little face and only felt that she was even more charming. At this moment, her small mouth was pursed, and the lips that he had kissed were slightly red and swollen, looking even more sparkling and seductive. Looking at Hongzhuang like this, Di Beichen only felt that it was really tempting to commit a crime. In the next moment, under Bailey Hongzhuang's astonished gaze, Di Beichen's lips covered hers again. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen with her eyes wide open. There was only one thought in her mind, Di Beichen is a liar. Di Beichen's kiss was warm and gentle, and Bailey Hongzhuang was also immersed in Di Beichen's kiss. Until Di Beichen let go of Bailey Hongzhuang blushed and said, You're shameless, I already said that I won't run, you still. Di Beichen stared at Bailey Hongzhuang and said with a smile, My wife is too seductive, your husband can't control himself. Following Di Beichen's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's face quickly turned red, and only felt that her ears and face were boiling hot. You, in the face of Di Beichen's straightforward words, she really didn't know what to say. Di Beichen's eyes were fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Facing such a lovely wife, he really felt that his entire heart was full. My wife, you're so cute. Di Beichen's face was full of smiles. Hongzhuang usually looked orderly and could deal with anything, but as long as he flirted with her, Hongzhuang could only be captured without putting up a fight. Such a wife was really cute. Bailey Hongzhuang wrinkled her little nose and angrily glared at Di Beichen, like a little wife who had been wronged. You only know how to act shamelessly. I didn't. Di Beichen spread out his hands, looking innocent and natural. Flirting with my wife is my husband's responsibility. You. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen with shame and indignation. The guy in front of her was clearly a shameless person. Di Beichen winked at Bailey Hongzhuang, but the devilish smile on his lips gradually widened. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a wave of frustration. In this aspect, she really wasn't Di Beichen's opponent. At this moment, there was a knock on the door outside the house. Young master. He Mu stood outside the house with the three beasts and called out. Hearing He Mu's voice, Di Beichen said, "Come in." Creak. The door opened, and He Mu and the three beasts walked in together. "Young master, there's a letter for you." He Mu handed a letter to Di Beichen. This letter was from Shitian Pavilion. Previously, young master had told him that if Shitian Pavilion had a reply, he must give it to young master as soon as possible. Chapter 1750. After He Mu handed the letter to Di Beichen, his gaze, like the three beasties, stopped on Bailey Hongzhuang's face. They saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's face was unnaturally red, and it had yet to fade. They could even smell the unusual ambiguity in the air. It seemed that they had come at the wrong time. He Mu's expression was a little awkward. He didn't want to disturb the young master and young madam. His gaze couldn't help but fall on Di Beichen. He Mu looked at the young master carefully, hoping that the young master wouldn't be angry because of his interruption. Otherwise, he would. The three beasties also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang ambiguously. Other than when Di Beichen was around, they had never seen their master blush. Obviously, something unusual must have happened just now. Their master's lips also seemed to be more swollen than usual. Thinking of this, the three beasties couldn't help but laugh. He. Noticing the three beasties' mischievous smiles, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was awkward. However, she still pretended to be serious and stared at the three beasties. Faced with Bailey Hongzhuang's pretense, the three beasties didn't fall for it at all. Just looking at their master's blushing face, this seriousness was no longer intimidating. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang felt even more helpless. It's over. Her image is completely ruined. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but stare at Di Beichen. However, Di Beichen's expression was natural, as if nothing had happened. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang really couldn't help but admire Di Beichen's thick skin. No matter what this man did in the last second, he could always quickly return to normal in the next second, as if nothing had happened. On the other hand, her expression had already exposed everything. It seemed that her skin still needed more training. You guys can leave first. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent and calm as he glanced at He Mu. Yes. He Mu hurriedly responded. After knowing that he had disturbed the young master and young madam, he couldn't wait to leave. Now that he heard the young master's words, he felt a burst of joy. However, the three beasts were somewhat unwilling to leave. On the one hand, they were very curious about the outcome of their master's visit to the sect leader's chamber. On the other hand, it was rare for them to have the opportunity to laugh at their master, so they didn't want to miss it. The expressions of the three beasties did not escape Di Beichen's eyes. Di Beichen continued, "Bring Baisha and the rest to try our Tiangang sect specialty dishes." As soon as this was said, the three beasts' faces were immediately dyed with a touch of excitement. Delicious. This was their greatest hobby. They still don't know what special dishes Tiangang sect has, but such a big sect, its special dishes must not be bad. In the next instant, the three beasts leaped onto He Mu's body. They looked like they couldn't wait for He Mu to take them away. Seeing the speed at which the three beasts changed their expressions, Bailey Hongzhuang felt helpless. Di Beichen had completely grasped the lifeblood of the three beasts. Using food to bribe them was definitely not wrong. Yes. He Mu bowed respectfully and immediately led the three beasts out. After the door was closed, Hei Mu couldn't help but sigh in relief. Chapter 1751. After Hei Mu and the others left, Bailey Hongzhuang supported her head with one hand, her eyes locked on Di Beichen's face. "My wife, do you think that your husband is too handsome, so you can't take your eyes off me?" Di Beichen's lips curled into an evil and charming smile. His starry eyes also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "I'm thinking, how did you train your thick skin?" When she first met Di Beichen, she should have known that this man's strength in this aspect was shocking. And now, as she understood more and more, her feelings also became more and more profound. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's helpless expression, the smile in Di Beichen's eyes gradually deepened. He moved closer to Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "My wife, do you want to know?" "Yes." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Di Beichen blinked his charming eyes. His expression was serious and seductive. "This also requires talent." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but break down. Such a man seriously told her that being thick-skinned also required talent. This was really not shameful, but proud. Di Beichen looked at the letter in his hand. His incomparably handsome face put away the joking expression, and a touch of seriousness appeared. Noticing the change in Di Beichen's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask, "Whose letter is it?" "Shitian Tower." Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression also changed a little. She knew that Di Beichen had issued a task to Shitian Tower. Presumably, this was Mo Yunjue's reply. Di Beichen opened the letter and looked at the contents of the letter. The content was very simple. There were only 2 words, "as soon as possible." Di Beichen was not surprised when he saw the content. He had already guessed Mo Yunjue's answer. However, from the words "as soon as possible," it could be seen that Mo Yunjue was serious about this matter. Normally, Shitian Pavilion's response was not like this. Presumably, Mo Yunjue had already sent cultivators to investigate this matter as soon as possible. With the information network of the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion, once they sped up, it would not take long for them to find out the results of the investigation. Bailey Hongzhuang also saw the contents of the letter. It was Mo Yunjue's handwriting. She couldn't help but feel touched. All this time, Di Beichen had helped her a lot, but she had never done anything for Mo Yunjue. Now, Mo Yunjue was still helping her investigate the location of her parents' imprisonment. She must thank Mo Yunjue properly in the future. However, she also knew that her gratitude was meaningless. She only hoped that Mo Yunjue could find his happiness. Shitian Pavilion has already accepted this task. I think it won't be long before we know the answer. Di Beichen said slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. The Yu clan has kept this information extremely secret. Even if Shitian Pavilion investigates, I'm afraid it will be difficult to find out in a short time. After she and her grandfather recognized each other, she felt more and more that Yu Xiqing was a terrifying woman. With Yu Xiqing's meticulous and vicious character, the location of her imprisonment must be extremely secretive. It would be extremely difficult to find it. However, she was still full of confidence in Shitian Pavilion. With Shitian Pavilion's ability, they will definitely find out. I will inform Master later. We should also prepare early. Chapter 1752. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Okay. Currently, they only had one goal, and that was to rescue her parents. Recalling how she had been all alone in the past and how she now had so many helpers, her heart was filled with emotion. The Yu family. In a dark and dirty dungeon. 2 figures were imprisoned by crosses and their hands and feet were cuffed in chains. Their clothes were in a sorry state and the bloodstains on their bodies had already turned black, emitting an unpleasant smell. Their hair was disheveled and mixed with sweat that scattered on their faces, making it difficult to see them clearly. However, if one looked carefully, they would notice that the man and woman's appearances were extremely outstanding. Despite their sorry state and pale complexions, it still couldn't conceal their peerless charm. Dong dong dong. A voice came from above. When they heard this voice, the two of them opened their eyes. Their indifferent expressions were filled with disgust. A yellow figure appeared before the two of them. It was Yu Siqing. Yu Siqing slowly walked to them with a sinister and cold smile on her face. Mu Lingbing, your father came to find me a few days ago. Hearing this, the imprisoned woman's expression couldn't help but change. She coldly looked at Yu Siqing but didn't say anything. This abominable woman would torment her and Yun Xiao whenever she was unhappy all these years. After so many years, she had gradually gotten used to it. Even the pain in her body couldn't withstand her numb heart. Normally, no matter how Yu Siqing provoked her, she wouldn't have any reaction. However, after hearing news about her father, she couldn't help but be moved. Lan Yunxiao looked at Yu Siqing with a deep gaze. This despicable and vicious woman. If possible, he really wanted to kill her. Noticing Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao's hateful gazes, Yu Siqing's smile gradually widened. She just loved to see Mu Lingbing's pained expression. Don't look at me like that. This is all Mu Jin's fault. If she hadn't given birth to you, you wouldn't have fallen into my hands and gotten injured. Yu Siqing chuckled and turned to look at Lan Yunxiao. Lan Yunxiao, you're really pitiful. If you hadn't married Mu Lingbing, you would still be the Lan family's glorious patriarch. How could you have fallen to such a state? Mu Lingbing couldn't help but look at Lan Yunxiao, her pitch-black eyes filled with guilt. Over the years, she had always regretted that she had dragged Yun Xiao down. If it weren't for her, how could Yun Xiao have fallen to such a state? Originally, she had thought that all of this was an undeserved calamity that had occurred out of nowhere. However, it was only after she had been imprisoned by Yu Siqing that she realized that all of this was a plot against her. Yu Siqing, don't speak nonsense. A hoarse and deep voice rang out. The prolonged dryness caused the voice to sound exceptionally ear-piercing. Lan Yunxiao coldly looked at Yu Siqing. This woman would always say things from time to break their hearts. Once they were defeated, that was what Yu Siqing wanted to see the most. However, he would not let Yu Siqing succeed. From the beginning to the end, he had never regretted being together with Ling Bing. He also didn't feel that Ling Bing had dragged him down. Even if he could start over again, he would still choose to be with Ling Bing. However, if he could start over again, he wouldn't let Ling Bing suffer like this again. Chapter 1753. Lan Yunxiao looked at Mu Lingbing. He didn't say anything, but his eyes said it all. From start to finish, he had never regretted it. Mu Lingbing's eyes sparkled when she met Lan Yunxiao's gaze. She couldn't remember how many years they had been imprisoned here, but it was an incomparably long time. But from start to finish, Lan Yunxiao had never shown the slightest bit of regret. Even after enduring all this torture, Lan Yunxiao still loved her deeply. She, Mu Lingbing, truly felt that being able to be with Lan Yunxiao in this lifetime was her greatest happiness. When Yu Siqing saw how deeply in love Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing were, her eyes couldn't help but darken. Hatred rose in her heart. She didn't understand what was so good about Mu Jin's that could make Si Tuyen yearn for her all these years. And now, her daughter was the same as her. There was clearly nothing good about her, but Lan Yunxiao was so deeply in love with her. An indescribable feeling of unwillingness spread in her heart. She wanted to destroy all of this. Si Tuyen came to ask me if you were his daughter. Yu Siqing's lips curled up. Ever since that incident, she hadn't seen Si Tuyen again. She didn't expect to see him again a few days ago. His facial features hadn't changed much from before, but they were dyed with the vicissitudes of life and added a bit of maturity. The man she used to like so much was stolen away by that slut, Mu Jin's. She was the one who liked Si Tuyen first, but now they were together. She couldn't accept it. As long as she wanted something, she would never allow it to be taken away by others. She would rather destroy everything than watch them live happily ever after. She wanted Si Tuyen and Mu Jin's to know that it was their biggest mistake to fall in love with each other. Mu Lingbing's gaze changed as it locked onto Yu Siqing. She had always thought she was an orphan and didn't know who her birth parents were. She had been raised by her master since she was young. Her master had always been very good to her and treated her like her own daughter. She also treated her master as her family. It wasn't until she was imprisoned by Yu Siqing that she learned about her past from Yu Siqing. So, master was her mother. She didn't believe Yu Siqing's words at first, but after Yu Siqing told her about the grudge between her and her master, she felt that it might be true. After so many years, she had already confirmed that this was the truth. She had never thought that her father would be the sect master of Tiangang's sect. It turned out that she wasn't an orphan at all. Her mother had always been by her side. It was only because of some grievances and misunderstandings that they didn't get together. She vaguely remembered that sometimes, her master would stare at a place in a daze, his expression lonely and sad. His master had always been outstanding, and she had countless suitors. However, ever since she was young, she had never seen her master walk in with any man. It wasn't until she was imprisoned that she realized that there was someone else in her master's heart. Yu Siqing did not hide what had happened back then from them. Instead, she spoke of it in a nostalgic manner. She finally understood that her father and mother had separated because of a misunderstanding, and all of this was because of Yu Siqing. His mother's sadness and loneliness for so many years was unnecessary. Chapter 1754. To Mu Lingbing, she had never hated a woman so bitterly and never thought that a woman could be so vicious. Mu Jin's is truly foolish to have left just like that. She hasn't seen Si Tuyen for so many years. However, I want them to continue with this misunderstanding and regret for the rest of their lives. That's the situation I want to see the most. Yu Siqing's smile grew even more malevolent. After so many years, Si Tuyen had only just found out that he had a daughter. Come to think of it, this wasn't just the typical feeling of regret and sorrow. Back then, Si Tuyen had caused her so much grief and now, she was finally returning it all to him. However, this wasn't enough. She was only halfway through. In the coming days, she wanted Si Tuyen to be filled with endless regret and even shed tears of regret in front of her. She was stronger than Mu Jin's in every way. You're too despicable. Mu Lingbing's gaze was cold and disdainful as she stared at Yu Siqing. She had never seen such a deranged woman. She felt that this woman had been possessed and had put all her energy and time into revenge. Seeing them suffer was the happiest thing for Yu Siqing. I'm despicable. Yu Siqing raised her voice and her expression grew even more malevolent and agitated. Mu Jin's is the despicable one. I've already told her that Si Tuyen is my sweetheart. She clearly knew that, yet she still wanted to steal my sweetheart. If she's not despicable, then what is? Yu Siqing was furious. She hated women like Mu Jin's who pretended to be innocent the most. Then do you think it's all good for you to do such a thing to your friend? Lan Yinxiao's eyes were gloomy and cold. This woman in front of him had been blinded by hatred. However, he could also see Yu Siqing's feelings for the sect master. Otherwise, Yu Siqing wouldn't still be alone after so many years. She wouldn't have put all her energy into this matter. However, when he thought about it carefully, regardless of whether it was his father-in-law, mother-in-law, or Yu Siqing, they had never walked out of this relationship. In reality, there was no such thing as snatching or not snatching. Even if his mother-in-law didn't exist, his father-in-law didn't like Yu Siqing and this fact wouldn't change. It was just that Yu Siqing wasn't willing to admit it. However, this woman was so deranged and vicious that no man would like her. Friend? Yu Siqing sneered, I've never treated her as a friend. I saw that Si Tu Yen was interested in Mu Jinsei, so I wanted to get closer to Si Tu Yen. However, Mu Jins actually dared to be together with Si Tu Yen. This woman is destined to pay the price. Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao were speechless after hearing Yu Siqing's words. This woman was simply unreasonable. She was clearly the one in the wrong from the beginning to the end, but she wanted to push all the blame onto someone else. How laughable. Since Si Tu Yen knows that you are her daughter, do you think he will come to save you? Yu Siqing's lips curled into a playful smile. This game was getting more and more fun. Ever since she left Tiangang's sect, Si Tu Yen had never appeared in front of her again. From now on, she believed that Si Tu Yen would constantly appear in front of her. Chapter 1756. No matter what, the situation has taken a turn for the better. The sect master knows of your identity. A smile spread across Lan Yunxiao's pale and handsome face. Lingbing had once regretted not knowing about her biological parents, but now she knew everything. Since the sect master had come to find Yu Siqing to confirm this matter, it proved that he was certain of it. As long as the sect master continued to investigate, this matter would gradually become clear. Perhaps the misunderstanding between the sect master and his mother-in-law could be resolved. Mu Lingbing nodded slightly. Her dark eyes were sparkling. At least her father finally knew of her existence. Yun Xiao, do you think Yishuan is still alive? Mu Lingbing raised her head to look at Lan Yunxiao, her pale and beautiful face filled with helplessness. She no longer cared about what would happen to her in the future. She was only worried that she would never have the chance to see her daughter again. From Yishuan's birth until now, they had only been together for a few short months. As a mother, she really owed her too much. Lan Yunxiao's deep and dark eyes flickered with determination. Our daughter is so strong. She will definitely live on. Although Lan Yunxiao's gaze was resolute, his tightly knitted brows still reflected his worry. Seeing Lan Yunxiao's determined appearance, Mu Lingbing's eyes brightened. Yes, she definitely will. In this life, they had failed to fulfill their responsibilities as parents. They only hoped that they could repay Yishuan in their next life. Lingbing, no matter what, we must persevere. Perhaps there will be a day when we see Yishuan again. Lan Yunxiao's gaze was deep and his voice was deep and powerful. After so many years of torture, they had persevered by relying on the conviction in their hearts. Not only did he want to see Yishuan again, but he also wanted the unconcealable hatred in his heart. Lan Jing was mad. The big brother he once respected and thought of as a good brother had done such a thing behind his back. When they got married, he had vowed to take good care of Lingbing. However, he had allowed his wife and daughter to fall into such a situation. All of this was because he had wrongly trusted others. It was his fault. He wouldn't allow himself to die like this. He hated them so much. If there was a day when he left this place, he would definitely return everything to them. If he couldn't do this, he wouldn't be able to die in peace. He once boasted that he was a distinguished and talented man who looked down on all the genius cultivators. However, the truth was that he couldn't even take good care of his own wife and daughter. The family that had supported him in the beginning had chosen to betray him after he encountered such a situation. This was the greatest pain in Lan Yunxiao's life. If you don't experience this, you will never understand how painful, hateful, and infuriating this kind of betrayal is. A faint smile appeared on her delicate and perfect face. Di Beichen was able to reach this stage not only because of his talent and resources, but also because of his hard work. Every time she saw Di Beichen cultivating seriously, she always felt that this kind of Di Beichen was exceptionally charming. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, Di Beichen's face lit up with a doting smile. "My wife, you're here." Chapter 1760. In a few more days, Gong Shaoqing and the rest will be reporting to Tiangang's sect. Di Beichen smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang. Recently, Hongzhuang had been staying in her sleeping quarters and had not left at all. Thinking about it, on one hand, it was because of the rumors in the sect. On the other hand, it was because there were no familiar faces in the sect. Although Hongzhuang had never expressed it, he could understand. Now, the cultivators in Tiangang's sect had many guesses about Hongzhuang. However, he could not stop everyone's guesses. If he forcefully gave the order, it would only make the situation worse. Therefore, they could only wait for the other cultivators to arrive and Hongzhuang would slowly change everyone's minds. He believed that with Hongzhuang's ability, it would not be a problem for her to do all this. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. "Yes, time passes very quickly. I haven't seen them for a while, and I really miss them." Di Beichen stroked Bailey Hongzhuang's silky smooth hair and his smile became even more affectionate. This period of time with Hongzhuang had been peaceful and wonderful to him. As long as he could see Hongzhuang's figure every day, he would feel very happy. Bailey Hongzhuang leaned on Di Beichen's shoulder and a complicated light flashed in her ink-black phoenix eyes. She had never told anyone about the Chaos Ring because it was simply too mysterious and its effects were unusually powerful. If such a divine weapon were to be found out by others, it was very likely that it would bring about a fatal disaster for her. Therefore, for so long, she had never told anyone about the Chaos Ring. The three beasts also kept their mouths shut. They were all too aware of the principle that an innocent man would get into trouble for possessing a jade ring. Now, she increasingly felt that the experience in the Door of Darkness was very helpful in increasing her power. Originally, Di Beichen had asked her to stay in the cultivation room to cultivate at night. This way, it would be more convenient for her to cultivate and she would not need to run back and forth. However, she still returned to her own room at night. Not for anything else, but to cultivate in the Door of Darkness. With the help of the Door of Darkness, Bailey Hongzhuang's speed of improvement was extremely fast. Even Di Beichen was amazed. She pondered for a long time whether or not she should tell Di Beichen the news. It was not that she did not trust Di Beichen, it was just that no matter how many vows she made, they were all defeated in the face of benefits. In the Xingxian continent, this kind of thing was not rare. On the contrary, it was very common. Even if it was a couple who had a good relationship, after meeting a treasure, they might have their own thoughts and go against each other. The Chaos Ring was such a heaven-defying artifact. Once word got out, it would have a huge impact. She had deliberately pretended all this in order to cancel her engagement with Shen Yuanhuan. Other than this, they couldn't find any other reason. But when they thought of this reason, they still couldn't find an explanation. Chapter 1763. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen's deep and enchanting eyes were filled with doubt and puzzlement. Hongzhuang's explanation made him even more confused. Her soul wasn't completely. This sounded too inconceivable. Actually, I'm a ghost from 1,000 years ago. I've crossed over to the present. Coincidentally, Bailey Hongzhuang had fallen, so my soul entered her body. Her beautiful and delicate face was filled with a faint smile, her bright and watery eyes staring at Di Baichen. She loved Di Baichen too much, she only hoped that there would be no secrets between them. After all, the memories of her past life had always existed in her mind. Sometimes, when she showed some strange talents, it would be inconvenient to hide them. Over time, she believed that Di Baichen's doubts would grow stronger. Instead of waiting until then, it would be better to tell Di Baichen everything now. When these words came out, Di Baichen stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze, his deep and spirited eyes revealing shock and emptiness. This news was simply too unbelievable. If the person who spoke was not Hongzhuang, he would definitely think that the other party was talking nonsense. However, seeing Hongzhuang's serious expression, he understood that Hongzhuang was definitely not joking with him. When he connected this point, he suddenly realized that everything could be linked together. Why did Hongzhuang have such a big change after swallowing gold and committing suicide? Why did Hongzhuang suddenly know medicine, disguise, and even alchemy? Why did Hongzhuang, clearly like Xianyuan Huan before, suddenly have no feelings for Xianyuan Huan at all? Previously, he didn't understand and only thought that Hongzhuang might have an extremely mysterious master behind her. However, he and Hongzhuang had been together for so long, he had never seen the existence of that master. Clearly, Hongzhuang did not have any contact with anyone else. However, later on, he had always been together with Hongzhuang, so he didn't think about these questions. Now that Hongzhuang took the initiative to mention this point, he finally understood. "Wife, you mean that you're a person from 1,000 years ago?" Di Baichen couldn't help but ask again. Although Hongzhuang had already explained it clearly, this news was too shocking. Even if it was a wandering soul from the same era, perhaps he could still understand. However, a wandering soul from 1,000 years ago, could it be that his wife had always existed in the form of a wandering soul for so many years? Di Baichen only felt that Hongzhuang's words had really refreshed his understanding. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, yes. "So, you've been a wandering soul for the past 1,000 years?" Di Baichen was somewhat puzzled. If the previous Bailey Hongzhuang had fallen and his wife's soul could enter her body, then in the past 1,000 years, hadn't she entered other people's bodies? Seeing that Di Baichen was a little bit confused, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but shake her head. "No. I only appeared after knowing the current year. The era I lived in was 1,000 years ago. In fact, 1,000 years ago, I fell because of an accident. When I woke up again, I had already become Bailey Hongzhuang. As for why I appeared 1,000 years later and why I became Bailey Hongzhuang, I'm not particularly clear." Chapter 1764. The power of the Chaos Ring was so great that it had created a spatial storm. She had then turned into Bailey Hongzhuang. All of this had been caused by the Chaos Ring. As for why it had chosen Bailey Hongzhuang, it was probably because they had coincidentally bumped into Bailey Hongzhuang at that time. Sometimes, she felt that all of this had been predestined. After all, their names were exactly the same. This coincidence was far too rare. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's explanation, Di Baichen finally understood. After his wife had fallen, her soul had directly entered Bailey Hongzhuang's body. That was how all of this had happened. After I entered Bailey Hongzhuang's body, I had also merged with her memories. Therefore, I can only say that the current me is a combination of my past life and Bailey Hongzhuang's. Her soul had long been merged with the memories of these two lives. Therefore, both of them were her, but not completely her. Di Baichen was a little stunned. This news was far too shocking. He simply could not believe that something like this had actually happened. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Baichen. When she saw that Di Baichen had been staring at her in a daze without any reaction, her clear eyes could not help but fill with a trace of worry. She did not know if Di Baichen could accept all of this. She had been very conflicted before she had brought up this matter. Anyone who had heard of this matter would find it hard to believe. Even though this matter was very hard to believe, Di Baichen had quickly digested it and understood it. Di Baichen raised his eyes and saw the worry in Bailey Hongzhuang's clear eyes. He immediately pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into his arms. Her worry made his heart ache. He had never wanted Hongzhuang to feel anxious because of him. Suddenly being pulled into Di Baichen's arms, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. The worry in her eyes gradually wavered. Di Baichen gently patted Bailey Hongzhuang's back. His warm and mellow voice rang in Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. My wife, no matter who you are, no matter if you're from 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years later, to me, you're still my wife. Your identity will not change anything. His warm and magnetic voice seemed to have a mysterious power, inexplicably calming Bailey Hongzhuang's heart. Di Baichen's words put her heart down again, and Bailey Hongzhuang's lips could not help but raise a happy smile. Her judgment was not wrong. Di Baichen would not care about these things. Even if Di Baichen knew the truth, it would not affect anything. As Di Baichen stroked Bailey Hongzhuang's back, he suddenly thought of something. His eyes could not help but turn gloomy. Sensing Di Baichen's strange behavior, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but withdraw from his arms and look at Di Baichen. Di Baichen's face was as gloomy as water. His eyes, which were as deep as the sea, were now covered with dark clouds. However, at the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang was deeply moved. Di Baichen did not care about anything else. The only thing he cared about was her feelings. This was really touching. However, when Di Baichen saw Bailey Hongzhuang's smiling face, he only felt that it was time to discipline Hongzhuang. She actually dared to lie to him about this kind of thing. In the next moment, Di Baichen exerted force with both hands and carried Bailey Hongzhuang to sit on his lap. She did not know Di Baichen's friend before. Today, she finally met one of them. She was very happy. Sister-in-law. After hearing Xiren's name, Di Baichen could not help but narrow his eyes. You're really, in fact, Xiren and Di Baichen had been arguing about who was the older brother and who was the younger brother since they were young. The two of them were the same age, and there was not much of a difference in months. When Xiren's birthday was naturally known, but Di Baichen's birthday, when Si Tuyen brought Di Baichen back, he only saw his age, but did not know the specific time. It was because of this that the two of them had been arguing about who was the older brother since they were young. Until now, they had not been able to compete. Ouch! Although Xiren was very curious to see Hongzhuang before, this kind of thing would happen sooner or later. When Xiren wouldn't make a special trip. Usually, there was only one reason that could make Xiren come so far to find him, Shangguaninying. Seeing that Di Baichen had seen through everything, when Xiren couldn't help but sigh. A little fight, no problem. Sure enough. Di Beichen's lips raised a faint smile. He watched Xiren and Shengguan Yingying walk over step by step. These two people were really a pair of enemies. Bailey Hongzhuang curiously looked at Xiren and Di Beichen. Obviously, Yingying was a very important person. Chapter 1775. In my opinion, it won't be long before Yingying appears in Tiangang's sect. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Whether it was when Xiren or Shengguan Yingying, he knew them very well. When the two of them got along together, it wouldn't be long before they quarreled. However, the speed at which they reconciled was equally astonishing. Now he was already used to it. This was the way the two of them got along. When Xiren raised his eyebrows and didn't speak. The two of you are really interesting. Every time you quarrel, you come to me. You treat my Tiangang sect as a refuge. Di Beichen looked at Wen Xiren helplessly. He had no intention of getting involved in these things. However, every time something happened between the two of them, they would come to Tiangang's sect. When they were not married, the two of them also came to him when they quarreled. Now after they were married, they still came to him when they quarreled. He was really helpless. Looking at Di Beichen's helpless look, Wen Xiren couldn't help but say, in the future, when you and Hongzhuang quarrel and come to me, I will take you in. Hearing this, Di Beichen directly held Bailey Hongzhuang with one hand and raised his long eyebrows. My wife and I will not be like you. Wen Xiren looked at such a proud Di Beichen and was completely speechless. Was this still the Di Beichen he knew before? The Di Beichen he knew before was never like this. He couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, after a man had a wife, he would change his face. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help laughing. The conversation between the two men was also very funny. This was the affection that grew up together. No matter how the other party ridiculed and sarcastic, it still couldn't hurt the affection between them. You'd better stay in your own room. When Yingying comes, you solve it yourself. Di Beichen glanced at Wen Xiren indifferently. On this issue, he really couldn't help. Wen Xiren pondered for a moment when he heard this, and then he could only sigh. He understood that Di Beichen had no idea how to deal with this. Wen Xiren was obviously not in a good mood. After messing around for a while, he went back to his room to rest. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang also went back to the cultivation room together. At this moment, after entering the cultivation room, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but think of the charming scene from before, and two red clouds once again appeared on her face. After Di Beichen noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's rosy face, he couldn't help but smile. Wife, what are you thinking about? No, nothing. Under Di Beichen's pair of eyes that could see through people's hearts, Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that she had nowhere to hide. How about, we continue what we didn't finish just now? Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang teasingly, his tone was very ambiguous. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but reach out and hit Di Beichen. You're shameless. Xiren is not far away. As long as we don't look for him now, he won't dare to disturb us. Di Beichen approached Bailey Hongzhuang, his smile was full of ambiguity and teasing. Bailey Hongzhuang knew that she was no match for Di Beichen in this aspect, so she didn't continue to stay on this topic. Who is Yingying? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Shengguan Yingying, she is Xiren's wife. The two of them are childhood sweethearts. We have known each other for many years. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. His voice was hoarse and seductive. We haven't finished what we wanted to do. Hearing Di Beichen's seductive voice, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but recall the scene from before. She immediately glared fiercely at Di Beichen. Be serious. This guy was deliberately saying these words that made her unable to resist. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.